Hello and welcome to this video. In this video we're going to give you some tips and tricks to make sure that you file your tax return correctly.
I told him I can be a fighter if you want. I'll be there to catch you if you fall. I can make it brighter when it starts. I told him I would do it all for you, and I know you do it for me.
Hello and welcome to the video. My name is Aaron Patrick. I'm a chartered accountant, certified UK trainer, and also that QuickBooks chap. Now, first of all, a massive thank you to every single one of you who have subscribed to this channel. We hit a milestone this week of 1,000 views, and if you had told me that when you look back at my first video where I was just sat there hunched over a laptop trying to give you some information and trying to explain to you the world of QuickBooks, I would never have believed it. So a massive thank you, a massive thumbs up, and stay tuned to this channel as we'll be exploring the opportunity of giving away some nice little giveaways to you guys as a way to say thank you. Now, one of the things I'm very aware of is that we're coming up to tax return period. Obviously, from my point of view, everything starts to get crazy busy at this point as we're trying to make sure all our lovely clients get all their tax returns completed on time. But if you're looking to do the tax return yourself, how do you get confidence and how do you make sure that QuickBooks has got it all in the right place and make sure that you're comfortable at filing your tax return? Well, that's what we're about to look at today, and actually some secrets that other accountants will find very uncomfortable with me giving to you, so make sure you get them down soon before some accountant comes along and actually destroys this video. Filing your tax return is a big deal. You're basically telling the government how much you've earned. You're going to want to have confidence, you're going to have reassurance that everything that's been put in there is correct. And that's what we're going to explore now. We're going to have a look at, well, how do we make sure that QuickBooks is giving out the right answers? How can we do some simple checks to make sure that when we do file that tax return, it's going to be correct? Let's have a look at it now. And also, let's just consider exactly what it is that we should be looking out for so that next year we make sure that we don't make any mistakes and that we can get it spot on first time. Let's have a look. Okay, everyone, let's get ourselves into that QuickBooks file. And from our QuickBooks file, what we're going to do first of all is we're going to look at the most important aspect of making sure everything's right. Now, we bark on and on at this channel of how important, how useful and how easy it is to get that bank data into QuickBooks. 95% of what you've done in QuickBooks is going to revolve around what you've done in the bank account and putting those transactions in correctly. Everything else that goes with it is all part of how QuickBooks makes it easy for you to deal with your data. But how do we make sure that's right? Well, I did a whole video on reconciling everything else, but as a quick recap, let's have a look and make sure we're comfortable with it. So first of all, on the dashboard, we're going to get a lot of information. We can see here that this bank account looks like it's absolutely spot on. We've got balance in the QuickBooks and balance in the bank of exactly the same figure. So that to me is a gold star. We're happy with that. Both of these were updated pretty regularly and they've been very frequently updated. So only 1 hour ago from the NatWest, but 21 hours ago from Revolut. More than happy with that. And I've got my PayPal at only 22 hours as well. So from a time point of view, everything looks all right. But when I start looking into the figures a little bit deeper, that's when I have issues. And this is where you've got to be really mindful of what's going on. This is where you need to be understanding and mindful and reassuring yourself that everything's correct. So if we have another look at that and look at it a little bit deeper, what else do we see? Well, again, the bank on the NatWest is fine. Revolut is fine. PayPal's incorrect because it's showing that we should have 0 pennies in there, but we now have £438 negative, which, you know, if you know PayPal, they're not going to let you give some actual money away. And then more scarily here is in QuickBooks, we're showing £18,000 in there, when in my bank account, I should only have 1,400. And they're real key points there. They're points to make sure that before you file anything, before you do anything else, make sure you've got those figures correct. I know that we're going to be looking in the past, so maybe the figures in the past are right. But if you can't confirm what's right today, you're going to really struggle to be able to confirm what was right in the past. So if you can get everything right as of today, that's going to give you confidence, that's going to give you reassurance that you're going to be pretty much there in terms of what it was in the past. The other thing I would look at this one is my cash on hand is negative as well. There should be no circumstances that I have a negative cash on hand figure. So they're the sort of things I'll be looking out for. So that's my first key tip. Just keep an eye on that dashboard and make sure it all makes sense to you. Other aspects on that dashboard is always use this new cash flow element to it. Make sure you can see from a cash balance exactly if that's making sense to you. You know, that's on mine, it's telling me if I've got some projections coming through as well. That's nice to know, but I want to make sure that this feels right. If I at no point in the year went overdrawn, I'd expect this to be following exactly the same pattern. Also, make sure that you've got things like your profit and loss, your expense, your invoices and sales. Do they feel right? Do they feel just about there? The dashboard is a huge part of getting confidence in the data, and you're forced to go to the dashboard. So force your eyes and force your discipline to make sure that every time you're at that dashboard, you review it, you sense check it, and you're happy with what's on there. Okay, we've done that first sense check, so let's have a look at deep dive into what's going on. So first of all, I'm going to go into that banking area. And within the banking, we've already know that NatWest is fine, but let's have a little bit of an even more deep. How do I 100% confident? Well, the first thing I would do is I'd grab a bank statement and I would actually make sure that I'm a reconciled position. I want to make sure that what figure is on QuickBooks is what figure was in my bank account. If the two collate, I'm going to have a really good opportunity there to make sure that everything's correct. So I want to be able to put that data into QuickBooks. I'm basically going to tell QuickBooks what was on my bank statement. For me to do that, I'm going to jump from here and go to Bank Register. From this view here, now there's various ways you can get to reconcile, but it gives you a lovely reconcile view at the top. But I do like this view because this is your view of what's happening in your bank account. As you scroll up and down here, you can see all the different transactions going in and out. Let's press reconcile. And the key bit to me here is last statement ending date here, 30th of the 6th, 2020. And crucially, that's the date after the date I'm interested in. So in my made up example here, I'm working till the 30th of March 2020. So as long as my reconciliation date is past that, then I'm happy. So what reconciliation means is that, again, we've said that this is the figure that's on my bank statement, and we've told QuickBooks that figure, and we've agreed that the QuickBooks balance agrees to that balance as on my bank statement. So reconciling things is really important, and I urge each and every one of you to at least reconcile your main bank accounts. Get each one of them reconciled, and try and reconcile every bank account and every cash account and every account you've got connected to QuickBooks. The more you can reconcile, the more you know that that figure that you've got in QuickBooks agrees to what was in real life. As we know on what we've been talking about, the ones that we're really interested in though are going to be things like the business bank on this one. And even when I go to the business bank account, I'm being forced to be seeing all these errors. They are huge, huge, huge indications that there is something wrong. And in this case, there is something very, very wrong, and we can't be looking to file our VAT return or our tax return or any other return until we've got those aspects cleaned. So use this opportunity, use what's in front of you. QuickBooks is telling you there's a problem, it's telling you there's an issue, and then you can go and make sure that's correct. Make sure you use the resume or the reconcile option as well, and make sure you do reconcile. See, on mine it's been reconciled to the 25th of the 7th, but I've got this massive error telling me there's a problem. Once I've confirmed that error and sorted that error out, I'll be in a better place and I'll be much more confident with my data. Okay, so we're getting comfortable with our bank accounts. What else can we look at? Well, it's all going to be down to our report section. And under the report section, there's two main reports I want you to be focusing on. The first one is your balance sheet report. And your balance sheet is basically all of those items we just talked about, like that bank account and things like that. Now, your balance sheet is something that you should be able to go through each one of these figures and have a confidence that they're correct. Now, you need to make sure you're at the right date range. So in this one, I'm going to go last year. And when I've got that 31st of March locked in, then I want to be going down these figures and making sure I'm happy with them. And most of these I should be able to reconcile to a point. So I should be able to see each one of these figures and be able to see if I'm confident in them or not. So is my debtors correct? Was that how much I was owed at that point? Is my creditors correct? All these bank accounts, have I been able to reconcile each one? And does those figures represent what was actually in my bank at that point? When it comes down to these elements that over here, I've got director's current account, I've got net wages, I've got VAT control, VAT suspense. Are all those the figures that I was expecting to see? Was that what I paid in the month or the 2 months afterwards? Those are the sort of things you should be looking at. And really, what I tend to do at this point is export this some way, either by printing it out or PDF or whatever, and physically go next to each one and put a tick next to ones I can, and try and reference to where you found those figures and where they are. Then basically the way that bookkeeping works is that as long as you can put the tick next to them, everything's going to be correct. We're going to have the right figures. The only thing that might be different is we might have a presentation different. So we might be showing something as postage and stationery when it should be computer expenses or something like that. But on the whole, the most important thing is that we've got all the data in correctly, and then we can look at presentation and things later down the line. So do go through each one of those figures, make sure you're confident with them, and make sure that you can put a tick next to each one to say, yeah, that's right. Things like your wages and them sort of things, you should be looking at the next month, and those, whatever's outstanding, if you've got £2,000 outstanding, you should see that £2,000 being paid, and so on and so forth. So that's where your timing issues come into play. But that's how we want it to be shown on QuickBooks, and that's how we're going to make sure we're happy with those figures. Anything you're not happy with though, the way to actually go about correcting or looking at them in more detail is you simply click on the numbers. So if I click on any of these numbers, they're going to go through for me, take me to the actual report, and then I can amend these if I need to. The next report that I really would urge you to look at, and you might have to go finding the report itself, but I've got it up here on favourites, is profit and loss by month. And any regulars of the channel will know that I go to this report a lot. So all I'm going to do now is just do the last 365 days for comparison, run report, and this is a huge way of keeping an eye on what's going on. So here you get to see all your profit and loss activities, so the amount of money you made less expenses, but you get to see in this wonderful table format that's going to give you indication if there's anything wrong. So for example, I'm looking down here and I can see that, yeah, I've got sales for every single month, and yes, they jump up and down, but at least I've got sales there. At least I've definitely accounted for something. When I look down here, I've got some marquee hire costs going all the way through the month. And then the only one I'd probably want to look at to a little bit more detail is this month here, where it's doubled. Now, when I click in there, I can look into it, and I might be able to say, yes, that's correct, or no, there's not. Or maybe here, it might indicate that there may be some duplication of some sort. Other things I'm looking out for though are missing items. So here I've got my director's salary flowing, and then stopping. So before I go any further, I'd want to make sure that I complete that and make sure my director's salary is going through there. I want to make sure that I've got insurance in every single one like I have here, but again, it doubles in this month. Is that something I want to look out for? And you're going to be critical at this point. You're going to be looking for trends. You're going to be looking for things that make sense. You know yourself if you've doubly paid for something, or you've had to be forking out for extra for a particular item in a particular month, you're going to know, and that's going to feel right. But until you see the data in this sort of format, it's difficult to make sure and difficult to understand. So do yourself a favor, put it in a format that works for you, and then like you can see here, it actually makes it quite easy for you to be critical and be able to find the data that might be missing or might not be. And then you can make sure that one-off items like here for this grant, is that going in the right place? And that's exactly how I'd expect it to be. The next thing I would do is just use the tools available. So now we have this fancy performance center. Again, it's really great we've talked about this before on the channel, but it's a great way. It's like that dashboard of just making sure you're happy with these figures here. Even if you don't 100% understand what these figures are representing, just being able to feel comfortable that they are there and that you can have some form of feeling like they should be right and they don't look alien to you, that's going to give you confidence again. And then what I would do is make sure things like your mileage has been accounted for. So make sure you've gone through and you've accounted for the mileage. Remember the mileage, and we've spoke about this in a previous video, you have to go and actually manually put that in at this point in time. We know that's coming soon, and we know that's going to be something that's implemented by QuickBooks at some point. But at this point, we've got to go through and make sure we're happy with it. And then just go into things like your supplier center. Make sure that these look correct to you at the top. Just a confidence again that of today's date, you've got everything right. So you may have seen something that was overdrawn or was a debtor still back in March. If that debtor's still appearing here, then are you confident on that? Is that what you want to do? And if you're not confident on it, go and look at the previous video where we can look at how you write that off. Again, we've also got sales center. I'd go to the same one, customers, and I'd be looking at this money bar, making sure that I'm happy that everything there is correct and it feels right as of today. Because making sure everything's right today means that you're confident in what's going on. And then my final bit is use some of the extra tools. So remember now in taxes, if you've got self-employed open, you then have the opportunity to view estimate, And this is just going to give you confidence that the figures are coming through and you can see what's happening for next year and everything that goes with it. So it's just a way of just looking at the tools available and making sure that you're confident with them. And we know that this is the first step for QuickBooks, so we expect more features and more functionality to come through there. One of the feedback we've already given, and I urge you all to give the same feedback, is when we go to file a VAT return, we get that amazing smart check functionality that goes through our data and has a look at it and make sure we're happy with it. We've already given the feedback that that's what we would love for self-assessment as well. So, you know, the more feedback that we give them, the more opportunity or the more chances we're going to get of seeing that being implemented. But having something like a smart scan feature within self-assessment would be really powerful. And there we have it. We've looked through the data and we're now confident on it. And because we've made sure that not only 31st of March is correct, in my case that's when I'm working up to, but also today's date correct, we're making sure that we've got confidence in each one of them. And looking at both data points independently is the best way to ensure that you're confident in it. The main reason is today's date is the easiest date to reconcile. We should all know how much money we have in our bank account, how much money we owe so-and-so, how much is owed to us. All that sort of stuff should be known to us as business owners. So make it confident on yourself. Make sure you know today's date is right. And then start looking back at the previous period and making sure they feel right and that that's the sort of thing you're expecting. It's much more difficult to know what was happening back then, but at least if you know today's right, you're going to have more confidence that then that was right as well. So go back, have a look, just make sure there's no silly errors, silly things that could be incorrect. But once you've got that confidence, do have a look at this video here where I talk about how to get everything you need to file a tax return ready to get that filed over. And also consider this. This video, we've concentrated fully on QuickBooks Online. If you're looking to have the same sort of video for QuickBooks Self-Employed, do make sure you put it in the comments below. And speaking of comments, if you have any questions whatsoever, make sure that you put the comments in below for me to answer accordingly. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe to this particular video as well. It's going to help it grow. It's going to help the channel grow. And again, a massive thank you to each and every one of you for your continued support and making sure that we got past that big threshold of 1,000 subs. Again, massive thank you, really humbling, and I really do appreciate the support that you guys have given. And that's it. My name's been Aaron Patrick. It's been an absolute pleasure to do this video for you today. Hopefully this will make sure that you've got your confidence in line to be able to file that tax return correctly. And again, if you do have any issues or you do want to speak to someone about it, or maybe look at the brand new product review by Boffix, then head over to Boffix themselves. They're the sponsors of this channel. They're the ones who also make sure that we have everything we need, from giving you really good deals on QuickBooks itself. So if you are paying for QuickBooks, do consider them as well, and do go and make sure you've got everything in there correctly. Boffix is an all-encompassing accounting solution, but it's also an accounting practice that is fully online. So anywhere in the UK, you can have your books done correctly. Again, my name has been Aaron Patrick. It's been a pleasure, and I will see you in the next video. Bye for now.
I told him I can be a fighter if you want. I'll be there to catch you if you fall. I can make it brighter when it starts. I told him I would do it all for you, and I know you do it for me too. I can be a fighter if you want. I can be a fighter. I can be a fighter if you want. I can be a fighter if you want. All the way that I feel, yeah, I know that it's real, 'cause I can get them out of my head. I don't care what we do, everything's feeling new. Even if we stay in bed, my heart is saying yeah, 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 yeah. You know I want it, nah, 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 nah. My heart is saying yeah, 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 yeah.
Hello and thank you for watching that video. What you may not know is this channel that you've watched this video from is part of a wider group. That wider group is called AppleCore Production. And the 3 channels that we have involved are as follows: Aaron Patrick, the QuickBooks Chat, Boffix Tax Tip. Finally, we have AppleCore Live and Geeky. All the links and everything are down below in the description, but it really means a lot to us if you can go and give a like to the other channels as well.